Hello and good afternoon everybody, and welcome back once again for another video of DIY investing. The last few videos has been me mainly talking about altcoins, but we also have to remember exactly what Bitcoin is doing so that we know exactly where we can place our strategies moving forward. The last few days have brought a lot of new money into altcoins and Bitcoin in the process, and so I figured today would be an excellent opportunity to dive into some Bitcoin analysis and show you guys exactly what I'm thinking moving forward. We're going to be taking a look on the shorter time frames as well as looking on the log scale and showing you guys a few very important patterns that I'm noticing play out and kind of what we can expect over the next couple years in Bitcoin's cycle. Is this one going to behave like previous cycles in times past, or is this one going to be much longer in duration? All of these things are going to be covered in today's video, and we're going to deep dive into this so that we have a full round understanding of what comes next. If you're new and just finding this channel, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button and then click the notification bell so that you don't miss out on any updates like the one provided for you here. Remember guys, my course and signals are now released so that you guys can jump in and be a part of the exclusive DIY investing community. There's actually a couple video courses right here that are listed on my unlisted section, and these are a brief description of some of the videos that you're going to get inside of that course. So all you guys really have to do is click the notification inside of the description of this video, and there you're going to get access to my Discord server. You can message me inside of Discord. You can also click the email. I have all of my social media handles inside the description of this video so that you guys can contact me on all platforms so that you guys can reach out and become a part of the exclusive content. Alright guys, thank you all so much for the support, and with all that being said, let's jump right in the video today. So to start off this, we are going to be taking a look at Bitcoin on the dollar. Now, a lot of very key things have played out over the last few days, and I wanted to talk to you guys about it because we do have an update. Things have changed a little bit, but not necessarily a whole lot. Now, what I had been watching for was this red resistance box. And let's actually draw it over here a little bit. I was watching for this red resistance box, and my reason for that was because I had my first resistance drawn at about 7,900 actually, and then I had my second resistance box drawn at about 7,500. And these were the two resistance levels that I've been watching for this entire correction, indicated by this red resistance line. And we'd been rejecting from these previous resistances. Now, kind of what I've been watching for is the fact that this was a pretty major support. And I believe that this is going to line up pretty closely with the 618 Fibonacci. And if we pull up our Fib tool, we're going to be able to see that we were right above that 618 Fibonacci level. Now, what I've noticed inside of really impulsive markets and very bullish markets is the fact that markets oftentimes bottom at that 618 Fibonacci. The 618 Fibonacci is also known as the golden ratio based off of mathematics. Now, this seems to be the pretty average point in which smart money accumulates each dip in a bull market. And oftentimes after a breakout, you'll see us bottom shortly after hitting the 618 and then continuing on in the cycle. So kind of what I've been watching for is how this 618 level was going to hold. Now, at the time, we came back down in the initial sell-off from about 14K, and we came right down to this 618 level, and that's when we got an immediate bounce up to the 382. This showed that there was a lot of buyers taking buy orders at this level, and that's why we saw such a sharp price swing on the opposite direction. Now, what happened was even though we went for one more lower low, we didn't necessarily break below the 618 level, and we definitely didn't get close enough to hitting the 786. We were still consolidating on the support region of the 618. And we saw a lot of buying taking place. Now, if we zoom into a little bit of a shorter time frame, let's remove our fibs. We're going to see that we had multiple reactions at this support level. We stabbed, bounced up higher from here. We stabbed, had a massive bullish engulfing candlestick that came in. We continued to get rejected on this descending resistance, and then finally we had another bullish engulfing candle, but this one was the actual one that broke us outside of this descending resistance. And so previously I was a little bit bearish, but you guys know that I've been updating you guys and have told you that the reason why I'm not super bearish in this time was because of the fact we have this major bullish divergence. Now, I kind of said that if we were going to continue to make lower highs and lower lows and get rejected underneath this descending resistance, then it was most likely we were going to drop for another low. But what kind of happened was we broke out from that, and we are now retesting the top of my resistance box. And in fact, we're a little bit outside of it as we speak. And so this is a very good sign. Now, realistically, the top of this resistance box coexists nicely with the inverse head and shoulder pattern that I've been watching. Now this was the left shoulder, this was the head, and this was the right shoulder. Now, as soon as we can break up higher outside of about 7,900, my take would be about 8K. If we can clear 8K and maintain support above that level, then I think that that confirms that this inverse head and shoulder pattern has played out. And then we need to be watching for higher upside targets of about 8,500. Now, $8,500 is going to put us at the descending resistance, and this is the major descending resistance that has held us the entire length of this bear trend. And so it's very, very important that we're watching these key levels. Now, on a shorter time frame, this thing looks very bullish. I mean, we did just reverse out of this inverse head and shoulder. As long as we can clear about $100, I would consider this a confirmed trend reversal. The fact that we have such major bullish divergence that's formed at the bottom of this trend as soon as we got around that 618 region tells me that there is this massive seller extinction taking place right now. Sellers are capitulating. They don't have the momentum to continue to drag down the market. And I love that it's coming right at this 618 Fibonacci levels, because this is generally the way that you find markets that are very bullish. After they make a big impulse, they'll come back down, retest this 618, and then continue on in their upswing. And so this is what I'm watching out for with Bitcoin. Overall, I don't know if we're going to reach my next 3 support levels that I have drawn here, my next 3 entries. And so we need to watch and see how this retrace comes. Now, there's a few scenarios that I see. We can break out of this neckline and kind of come up and retest about 8,500. And then from here, we might drop back down and then break out. We might see something along the lines of this. I have no idea how it's going to play out, but I would like to see something like this if we're going to experience a trend reversal. I think that we will, after the breakout of this initial inverse head and shoulder, maybe have to come back down and retest this previous resistance box. And then that should set us up nicely for a breakout. And so I'm kind of watching that scenario. We could also see something a little bit more chaotic where we kind of break out, go up to about 9,500, kind of retrace back down to this support level, only to see us continue to go back up in that cycle once again. Maybe we could see something along the lines of this. Now, my third count that I'm going to be watching out for would be that this is just a bearish retest, and then that kind of holds us until we drop back lower in this cycle, and then that would come and fill our lower entries. And so this is kind of what I'd be watching out for. I'd watch for any of the 3 scenarios to take place. It's really important that we hold support at about $7,900. I think that that's the biggest takeaway I can tell you guys, no matter what the different options would be. I'd say the biggest takeaway is that we have to hold support of above about a $7,900 Bitcoin. And as long as we can do that, I would assume that that's going to set us up nicely for the break of descending resistance. But the fact that we're getting so close, the fact that we've had such a strong rejection inside of this short-term bear trend, leads me to believe that this correction is nearly complete. I mean, from bottom to top, we had about a 53% sell-off, and I really wasn't even looking for anything that big. And so the fact that we're down this low, the fact that we still have such great opportunities to accumulate, I'm definitely not going to squander this opportunity. I'm accumulating as much Bitcoin as I possibly can in this dip, and I think that we all should be doing our part in doing the same, because I really don't find it likely we're going to see these lower Bitcoin values for much longer. In fact, I think that it's very paramount that we're going to get back above that 10K threshold pretty soon. And once we're actually above those levels, it's going to be only a matter of time before we're back above 20K. And so this is kind of what I'm watching out for with Bitcoin. Now, before we wrap up this video, let's dive to a much bigger time frame and kind of talk about some things that I'm seeing. So here we are taking a look at the log scale of Bitcoin. This is the Brave New Liquid Index. This is the Brave New Coin Liquid Index for Bitcoin. This shows the entire price history that we have of Bitcoin up to this point. Now, we can see here that we have this linear trend, and this is something I've talked about a little bit in times past, but we continue to kind of ride out this trend. We make these big parabolic runs, we retrace for short-term sell-offs back to the trend, we kind of accumulate on this trend for a little while, and then that creates the next mania phase where we go parabolic. We start another retrace, come back down to this trend, kind of hug that trend line for a little while, and then we start the next mania phase. And this is the way that the cycles have worked up to this point. Now, what's interesting to me is the fact that back when I first got into cryptocurrency, which would have been right here, this is where I bought my first Bitcoin and got into crypto. I think I'd previously heard about it in about 2015, but I didn't actually buy any until 2016. And I bought about a couple weeks before our last Bitcoin halving that took place in 2016. And this is really where my journey in cryptocurrency began. Now, what I find is interesting is the fact that previously inside of Bitcoin's market, we follow this trend and we consolidate on this linear trend line for quite some time before we actually break out into new price discovery. Now, in our first bear cycle, we consolidated here on this trend for roughly 400 days. Back in 2015 to 2017, we consolidated on this trend for about, just under 600 days. And so now I'm really wondering exactly what's going to take place in this current correction that we're experiencing, because there's a few differences. Now, what I've noticed is the fact that each bull market lasts a longer period of time. Now, this one was about 329 days. This one was about 730 days. And then from capitulation to the top of our last cycle was about 1,064 days, right? And so what we're experiencing is a longer degree of time between each bottom and each top of the next bull cycle. Now, the thing about 2017 that's a little bit different that I wanted to talk about is the fact that this one kind of capitulated and then we trended sideways for like almost a year's time. It was about 280 days that we accumulated sideways before then breaking out. And it was about 1,200 days from the all-time high until we actually hit that all-time high and broke out again. And so that was a very, very, very long cycle. Now, if the pattern continues, then we should expect to see another longer bull market cycle in this current cycle that we're riding in. Now, I have no idea how it's going to look. Previous cycles have been different and have varied from time to time. Let's fix this up a bit. Bear market and bull market cycles have differed quite frequently from time to time, and that's why I think that it's really important that we talk about these things so that we fully have an understanding of what potentially can happen. Now, from the first cycle, bottom to top was about 330 days. Second cycle, bottom to top was about 730 days. Third cycle, from bottom to top was about 1,078 days. And so where does this take us to current valuations? Now, what I can see currently is the fact that we have retested this trend line. We got a massive bounce from that trend line, and then we immediately came back down and retested that. And from our initial retest, we've already started to get more bullish action from that point. And so I think that we very easily could be at the bottom of our current cycle, and we might be finished with our short-term bear cycle. But there's a couple scenarios that I'm watching for. Now, if we zoom in here, we're going to look at our first bear market cycle, would have been this one. And we can see how we accumulated on this trend. Now we can see here that out of the lows, we experienced a big impulse, and then we kind of got our first leg up, right? First leg up, and then we come back down, retest this trend line. We get our second leg up, come back down, retest this trend line, and then that's what sets us up into price discovery. Now what's interesting to me is how similar the cycles play out. Now we can see here that in 2015, we had our first leg up out of accumulation, first leg up, had our second leg up, and then that's what really set us off into price discovery, was that second leg up. Now, I think that we could see something similar play out inside of this market, but it also could be different. I have no idea. I'm just here to speculate and kind of draw comparisons and similarities so that we can all kind of figure this out together, because this is just a big puzzle. Nobody knows what's going to happen. Nobody knows what could happen, what potentially scenarios we could see. And so for this one, I think that we could see something similar where we have these first little leg ups in the cycle, something similar to like this. I think we could see something like that taking place right now. Now, what we experience right now is just the first little leg up in that cycle. Now, to me, I think that we could see something like this. Maybe we break out of that all-time high mark, come back down, retest that, and then go into this price discovery phase that everybody's watching for. We could see something along the lines of that. We could also see something entirely different, whereas this cycle is going to be a little bit different. This cycle is going to be a little bit different, and we could see something kind of distance itself from the rest of the group. Now, this might be where we kind of break out. We head towards about 36K. We come back down, retest roughly that all-time high, And then that would set us up for a major price discovery and bull run. Now, I'm not trying to drop exact price targets. I'm just kind of mapping you guys out what I personally see. Because what could take place is a much longer cycle. And this is something that a lot of people have talked about, but I don't feel like it's really talked about enough. Each cycle is getting longer in time. And so it would make sense to me that the cycle is going to continue to play out this way. Now, are we about to see 2020 as a year of slow accumulation, kind of growing on this trend line? Or is 2020 going to be a year of massive potential, massive bull runs, and then 2021 is kind of the year where everything goes parabolic? Because I'm watching these cycles, and I kind of think to myself, the way that I kind of foresee this playing out is I think that we could very easily see about a 1,200-day cycle. And that 1,200-day cycle puts us at roughly, spring of 2022. And I think it'd be a little bit more accurate that we would actually start the decline around the new year, because that's generally what happens previously in times past. And so that would put us at just under, a 1,200-day cycle. And I think we could see something along the lines of that. Now, it's hard to say exactly what's going to happen and how we're going to get there, whether we make these little leg ups in the cycle before we just kind of continue on in that uptrend before we go into a new kind of paradigm. But this is what I'm going to be watching out for. Now, I think it's possible we could get these little growth cycles on side of this trend line. It would make sense to me. But with all the new institutional money, all of that new money that's flooding into crypto, I think that we also have the possibility where this could have been our accumulation phase on that trend line. And it's just taking place a lot slower before we kind of break out of that all-time high. And then we just continue to go on higher inside of that cycle. And we could see something a lot more parabolic. My target's 200K for this next cycle. And so I think that we could see something like that. Now for me, I'm expecting this to be a lot more of a slow accumulation trend based off of the other cycles. This is how it's played out. And so I would actually assume it to play out more along the lines of this scenario. Now, I think that that'll take us into about 2022, roughly the very start of 2022, kind of similar to what we've seen previously in Bitcoin cycles. Around the new year, we get retraces. Around the new year, we find bottoms and reversals. And so I think that we could see something very similar. And so this, guys, was my Bitcoin analysis. I wanted to talk to you guys about some things that I've been watching for. Now, before we wrap up this video, let's have one more scenario. This was actually brought up to me by my best friend, High Altitude Investing, or Dallin Anderson at High Altitude Investing. You guys can go check out his YouTube channel. But this was pointed out to me by him, and I think that this is a really cool setup that a lot of people aren't really considering that is actually playing out very nicely. What this is that this big correction that we're experiencing is just a giant triangle, right? And we could experience a little bit more accumulation inside of this triangle before we actually get a major breakout. Now, I think kind of what we could see is maybe we kind of rally back up. We come up to about 12, maybe the high of the previous cycle. And then we fall for one more low. And then that takes us to kind of the bottom of our triangle before we would get that breakout. And that's what would take us into higher price discovery. And so I'm watching this scenario as one to play out because I do believe that this is a possibility. It would actually make a lot of sense, us consolidating inside of this triangle, because that would give us more time to accumulate on this trend line. Because really, we kind of stopped briefly in December. We immediately bounced back out of that. Now we stopped briefly again on this trend line, just barely. Now, if we start impulsing out of this very quickly, then it would lead me to believe that we're probably not going to experience the same sort of growth cycle on that trend line. And even if the cycle's longer than the last one, it probably means that we're mainly just going to be going up in price discovery. And so it's going to be a very parabolic cycle. Now, I would prefer the triangle correction because it would just give me more time to accumulate. I'm honestly all on board with any strategy that gives me more time to accumulate, because at the end of the day, we don't have an opportunity like this, and we're most likely not going to have another opportunity like this with Bitcoin. This is the last opportunity where we can actually own an entire Bitcoin, and so I'm jumping in on that opportunity. The average retail investor is not going to be owning a full Bitcoin, and in fact, at this point, it's already too expensive for the average retail investor to own a full one. And so I know a lot of people that do follow me on my YouTube channel and in my Discord. They do own significant portions of money, but there's a lot of people that watch my channel that don't. And so I think that it's very important that we're taking time to accumulate right now, whether we have kind of a slow uptrend inside of this consolidation on the trend, or whether, you know, we just go straight into price discovery. I have no idea yet. But what I can say is the fact that our accumulation phase only was about 3 months and we immediately blasted off to 14K. I'm not wasting my time. I'm doing whatever I can to accumulate as much Bitcoin. I'm not getting shaken out by the price swings. I'm at short-term losses in some of my long-term portfolio bags for Bitcoin and even altcoins, but it doesn't faze me because I see the long-term trend forming. And this was just really that first leg up in the cycle. Same as here, you know, same as down here. This is the very first leg up, and so I'm not really worried. I'm not shaken out. I'm going to continue to hold Bitcoin. I'm going to continue to buy and average into my positions. Anyways, guys, thank you all so much for the support of this video. If you found this video helpful, always remember to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to this channel for more updates. Click the notification bell so that you don't miss out on any updates like the one provided for you here. If you're looking for my course and signals, make sure you click the invitation link in the description of this video, and there you're going to get an invite to my Discord server. Currently over 1,500 members and growing very quickly, so you guys are definitely going to want to jump in on that before I close invitations to my group. Anyways, guys, thank you so much. I will catch you in the next video. As always, peace out.